Alright, welcome back, Barbarians. In today's video, I want to take a look at a new mod that just came into the game as this past Friday, which you need to grab, and that is not Elemental Time Dilation. Although that is here, you can buy it. It is Elemental Shards. Essentially, Stasis Shards count as Elemental Wells, which proves to be a very powerful combination. I'm going to run it with Aegir's Scepter, Null Composure, Threaded Needle. This is primarily for Gambit gameplay, so Void is preferable. I like Linear Fusion because it's related to the seasonal artifact, and it's good at taking out invaders in Gambit and high power targets, as well as bosses. As you can see, some of the things I'm running, Touch of Winter is key mainly for the fragment slots, so you can run 4 fragments, just like the other subclasses, and then I'm running Grim Harvest. So essentially defeating slowed or frozen targets creates Stasis Shards. And then Whisper of Conduction, so they'll track towards me. Whisper of Fissures, which you've all seen these before. Whisper of Bonds, so this one gives me super energy on Shards pickup. And Whisper of Rhyme. So these are the ones I'm choosing to run today. You can certainly switch it up a little bit, and I believe I do later on in a couple of the other Gambit games. But there's just, I don't know if Destiny's ever had this much synergy between abilities, weapons, the subclass. So it's something I really wanted to try out, actually make a build, see how it felt in PvE against enemies, and let you guys know my thoughts. Alright, so I would say the main thing too is, of course, elemental shards, so you want to create as many shards as possible. Of course, using a stasis subclass, I chose to run these are look at the mods I'm using as well. Elemental armaments, so increased weapon damage. You can play around, these aren't by any means what you have to use. This one's for giving me super energy on well pickup, well potency from the seasonal artifact, and then elemental shards in my class item. I do end up switching it up, so I put elemental shards in my boots, but that was only so I could also run trace rifle scavenger, because Aegir's Scepter runs really low on ammo really quickly, especially with the ability. And the nice thing about this build isn't just, you'll see some background gameplay, isn't just the ability to get your super initially, which it does really quickly on shard pickup, but also use Aegir's Scepter's Catalyst ability, which I do have another video on that, so we won't really focus on that today. And so whether you choose to use your super or not, you're going to kind of benefit from it. The other nice thing about picking up shards, which there are just a ton of, is it increases your super. So while you're depleting your super for Aegir's Scepter's ability, you can be gaining your super back by picking up shards, so it's kind of this continuous loop. And really your limiting factor usually ends up being you run out of enemies to shoot with Aegir's Scepter, or you actually run out of ammo, which sucks, of course. But hopefully the scavenger helps with that a little bit. And I'm sure you guys can think of plenty of other ways to showcase this weapon as well, in terms of lost sectors, or Sorrow's Harbor, or any public events, or roaming around different planets. I chose Gambit just because the enemy density is very close. It's not necessarily a ton of enemies, but it does allow the build to be showcased a little bit. Right here I switched to the Catalyst ability, draining my super. Still freezing targets, remember, doing 80% increased damage. I think on this build as well I'm using Font of Might, so when I do pick up shards that match my subclass, I get 25 increased weapon damage. And that is, of course, in addition to the 80, which ends up being pretty powerful, especially for this game mode here. Now, I ran, I think, 12 to 15 games, something like that, and I only lost 2 games, I think. This is just really strong in Gambit. You can just clear ads like nobody's business. Now, you could certainly run this with the Warlock and have the Stasis Frozen melee work as well. Or the Titan, you'd kind of utilize probably the slide with that glacial spike you can send out in front of you. I think it's the best with a Hunter just because you do get that double throwing stars, and they're really high regeneration ability. Now for an exotic, some people like to use Star Eater scales, the exotic hunter boots. However, I'm choosing here to run Frosties, just kind of for fun, personal preference. It's not necessarily the best or the worst. I just like Frosties as an exotic, just continually adding to that ability cooldown. And with this build in particular, it's really focused around elemental shards, so I'm trying to create those shards. So when I do pick them up and they track towards me, they're going to give me my super back. Just playing for my life right here, trying not to die. And as you can see in this game in particular, we just absolutely clean up wave after wave of enemies and deposit moats, and it's an awesome cycle. And it works extremely well, and it's fun. I mean, I love that kind of build synergy where you're never out of anything. You always have something up your sleeve in order to kill enemies, which is super fun. Yeah, and I've just been playing around with different builds in the game that been kind of crazy. There's some crazy ones out there. I'll certainly be making more videos and content around some other builds that I enjoy and I've found out. And I think what I'm going to start to do is not make my build videos so broad, but really narrow in on just kind of one particular topic. For this video, it's just the throwing stars. There's a lot of synergy outside of that, but that's the one thing I wanted to make sure I highlighted. And you could certainly just take elemental shards for what it is and just use it with a stasis subclass. You don't have to use this exotic. You could use Traveler's Chosen. Sidearm would be really strong. There's a bunch of other options you could run here where it wouldn't have to be this, and you could have, you could still run your 1K voices, running some kind of osmosis build, weapon in the kinetic slot could be really fun to pair with this combination too. Nothing I've tried out myself, but certainly something that comes to mind. Just all the synergy with killing ads, and it just feels like so much fun. That guy's a little bit tanky there. All these moats here, I don't really need all of them. Pick them up. Almost got my super again. Yeah, crazy build, crazy. And the other team doesn't really even stand a chance here. I mean, it's just it just works so well. Here I think I end up saving my super so I can drain and use Aegir Scepter's Catalyst here. Now I've got Void, which is always the matching type of the wizards. I missed a bunch because I'm just a terrible shot, but we do get there eventually. We absolutely melt the boss here. You can see a warlock with his breach thingy. I don't play warlock that much, but whatever that may be. And look, the primeval's already melted. I mean, it's crazy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next build video. Peace.